Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
And we're off. Welcome to the Jay Recher Podcast, here live from Amalie Arena. So if you hear stuff going on in the background, you know what it is. It's actually fix the jacket here, making sure I'm looking svelte for everybody out there. No lightning morning skate today because it was a late one last night as they fell to the Florida Panthers. It was a damn good contest there at Amalie Arena, but they're here back in Tampa. They got in late last night. They're back in action tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets, 7 o'clock buck drop. So make sure you check us out and make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Jay Recher. Like and subscribe on my YouTube channel because it is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I appreciate everybody for all the love and the support. What a great game last night. And we're going to continue the conversation with the Hall of Famer, Dave Andreychuk. He's going to join us at 1:30 today. We're going to get his opinion on the Four Nations, on the play of the Tampa Bay Lightning as of late, and whether or not they need to add something at the deadline. He did a great job last night on the desk for FanDuel Sports Network with our guy, Paul Kennedy. Great to see him back after dealing with a death in the family. So really, really good stuff. And listen, you walk away from that game last night. Do you want to beat your rivals? Do you want to beat a team that you're chasing in the division? Of course. But sometimes it's more about the process than it is about the results. And I just love the process from the Bolts last night. That's the reason why they were able to win 8 games in a row, because they played the way they did last night. So I'm excited. I don't think that takes away anything from what they've done. And listen, one conference ends, another conference, one winning streak ends, and now another winning streak can start tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Zach Werenski and the entire crew. It is going to be wild. Who's in net tonight? I would say that it's probably going to be Jonas Johansson because back-to-back, getting in late last night. So don't be surprised if you see JoJo against the Jackets tonight. Carlos Rueda, Rowdy season starts this week, Jay. You know it, my friend. I am excited as hell about that. And Carlos, I'm glad you brought that up because some breaking news here on the show is that I will actually be doing the show live tomorrow from the Rowdy's training facility right here in Tampa. We'll have Forrest Lasso joining the show. We'll have Robbie Nielsen joining the show. It's a busy day for me. Every day is pretty busy for me. But tomorrow I'll be at the Rowdy's training facility doing the show from 12 to 2. And then I'm hustling my butt over to USF because I'll be on the call for the doubleheader for USF softball against Siena. You can check that out over on the South Florida Bulls Radio Network, over on Bulls Unlimited. Download that TuneIn app so you can listen to that. And speaking of USF, we got a huge guest to start the show. In my mind, one of the greatest shooters in USF history. Sammie Puisis is going to join us on the program in about 6 minutes or so. She'll hop on and we'll talk about all things USF women's basketball, including how she came back from her injury, playing for Jose Fernandez. And it's just such a unique group. Every single year, Jose Fernandez, as soon as the season's over, he's over in Europe and he's trying to bring in players from all around the world. How do you build that chemistry, right? It's fascinating. It's one of the most unique teams that we ever see in college sports, and we have it right here in our backyard. Shout out to David, Terry, and Dolan, and Benny, and the whole crew. I always want to hear from you guys. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. Again, follow me at Jay Recher on all social media platforms, and like and subscribe on YouTube. I'm on Patreon and Discord. Just going to continue rolling that ball down the hill. I didn't mention our other guest today at 1 o'clock, Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report. He was up there in Indy for the NFL Combine. He's got a lot of great stuff that he has wrote in the last week or so about the Buccaneers and about people that they are going to be keeping an eye on as we get closer and closer to the NFL draft coming up at the end of April. I can't wait to see how they address that defense because we all know that's the biggest part of this entire thing. address that defense, go all in on defense, like we said the other day with our guy, John Ledyard NFL Draft. Go check him out, all the things that he's got going on. But yeah, defense wins championships. That's not, I think it's the cool thing in sports to try to bash all the old school cliches. We don't want to like go back to the old days of, all right, well, batting average and home runs and RBIs. This is not that big of a deal. Let's focus on OPS plus and all this stuff. Now, defense wins championships is like a lame thing to say. Okay, go find me a champion that didn't have some modicum of a strong defense, and you just keep looking. Even a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, right? People want to talk about how great they've been offensively over the last couple of years. Well, yeah, they've had McDuffie, and they've had Jones, and they've had Bolton, and they've had a lot of guys step up defensively. Even in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago against the Eagles, when they did give up the points, but the big play was Bolton knocking that ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands. They've been able to come up with those stops on 3rd and short and 4th and short over the years. That's why they've been so successful. They weren't able to do that, obviously, against the Eagles in this Super Bowl, but look at their defense. Look at their defense and the way that they were able to get Patrick Mahomes off of his spot and have happy feet. Look at the defenses of some of these teams that have won. I mean, look at the Florida Panthers last night. As much as we talk about this Tampa Bay Lightning team and how good their defense was, that's part of the reason, if not the main reason, they were the last team standing. Paul Maurice put such an emphasis on defending that it carried over, and that's why they were able to win the cup last year. I know that was a sore spot for everybody, but last night watching that game, I was thoroughly impressed with both teams, and it was hard not to watch that game last night and think that we were watching a foreshadowing of a playoff matchup between these two teams. And if you continue to look forward and you look at the division, if Toronto stays out in front and they're the number 1 seed in the division, then we're looking at a first-round matchup between the Lightning and the Panthers again. Oh, my gosh. We're not going to get away. You want to talk about a rivalry? That's how a rivalry gets built. Both teams win the back and forth, and you have to play each other time and time again in the postseason. And if it happens, again, this postseason, there we go. The rivalry, I would say renewed, but it hasn't gone anywhere. Some breaking news in the National Basketball Association. Unfortunately, things for the Dallas Mavericks go from bad to worse. Kyrie Irving, who it looked like suffered a left knee sprain last night. Sources tell ESPN today that he has suffered a season-ending torn ACL in his left knee. What a massive blow to Dallas. So not only do you lose Luka Doncic in the trade to the LA Lakers for Anthony Davis, but Kyrie Irving, your star guard, torn ACL out for the rest of the season. And because it's torn so late into the season, I mean, you got to wonder what kind of impact will it have on his status for next year. Wow. That you want to talk about being a tortured fan base right now. I mean, the Mavericks have to be looking around going, what the hell did we do to deserve this? Not good. Also, the Jets prepared to move on from Davante Adams and Allen Lazard. I mean, I look at Allen Lazard and I'm not blown away about what he brings to the table, but Davante Adams, I still think he's got some good football left. I don't know why there was such an emphasis on his behalf to go wherever Aaron Rodgers goes. But if I'm Davante Adams, I'm looking around and I'm looking at situations going, hey, if you can take half of my contract and get me in a decent offense, I think Davante Adams has plenty of gas left in the tank. Is he a number 1? Maybe. But imagine him with another team with an established number 1 that he can go in there and take some of the heat off of that guy. He's still a big-time red zone threat. He's still a big dude who has the experience and the wherewithal and know-how just to be able to move in a way to get himself open. I didn't look at it last year and look at Davante Adams and say, man, that guy is fallen off. And we see that, unfortunately, in the NFL with wide receivers, where the guy loses a step and it's a precipitous fall off the cliff, and he's not the same guy he was. I didn't see that with Davante Adams last year. You look at what was going on with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, that was an absolute dumpster fire. So I don't know how successful he was going to be there in the Empire State with him. Get away from Aaron Rodgers. Even if he goes to play for another team, do not follow him. Go to another place with a young quarterback. I would have said Washington would have been a good spot, but they ended up picking up Deebo Samuel in the trade, so they look to be okay. So if you look at some of these other options, going around the league, I don't think there's going to be any shortage of suitors for a guy like Davante Adams. Excited to see where his next stop is going to be. Excited to talk to our next guest as well. In my opinion, one of the greatest shooters in USF history, the one and only Sammie Puisis. Hey, Sammie, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me. I've been just so impressed with you during your tenure, not just, here at USF, but your last stop as well. How are you feeling? How's the team looking on this Tuesday afternoon?
We're feeling good. We're ready to go to Dallas soon, head into the conference tournament.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch what you ladies can do there in the American. I want to start off first with your choice to come here to USF, and I'm talking to pre-injury. What was the thing that drew you to the green and gold and playing for Coach Jose Fernandez?
It was definitely Coach Jose. My first phone call with him, it just went great. We talked X's and O's and how I would fit into the system, and it just really drew me in, and I wanted to expand my game and hopefully play at the professional level, and I knew he would be able to help me get there.
Yeah, and I'm sure you see, and watching Courtney Williams, I mean, obviously is one of the greatest examples to be able to watch her balling out at the WNBA level. It's just so great to look at her on national TV and point and be like, that's a South Florida grad right there. I remember where I was when I found out that you were injured and you were lost for the season. And it's like I was on air at the time and my heart went into my stomach and I couldn't believe it because there were such high hopes for you and the impact. What was that like, finding out or dealing with the injury and going through that long process and being able to sit on the sideline and watch your team play, knowing that there was nothing you could do?
It was tough. I've never been through a long injury like that takes you out for the whole year. But, I believe everything happened for a reason. And I grew in my faith, and I feel like I grew, off the floor, learning from the sidelines, helping my teammates in different ways. And then ultimately, getting my body ready physically and then having a great season this year. So, yeah, everything, it worked out.
Everything happens for a reason, right? I mean, it's just that's the way kind of life is, and you're going to learn that as you get older as well. Sammie, what got you? How'd you? When I'm talking about your shot, because I told somebody the other day, Sammie doesn't need much space, and you're not one of those people that you're just a set shooter or you need to shoot off the dribble, or you get any inkling of space, and you're letting one loose. How did you become such a proficient shooter? Was this something as a kid that how did that work ethic turn into what you are right now, which is one of just the most dynamic shooters in the country?
Yeah, it really started when I was really young. Both my parents played basketball in college, so they kind of knew what to do, but I was just under the hoop, always working on my form every day, and that started since I was 7 years old.
Wow.
Even when I wasn't strong enough to get it to the rim, my dad was like, we got to have perfect form. Eventually you'll be strong enough. They weren't letting me shoot like that.
No heaves, right?
No. So, and then in high school, we got a shooting machine, and I was just on that thing every day, getting 300 to 500 shots up every day. And so it's been a long time coming. And yeah, I worked on getting my release quicker and quicker. Teams start to face guard and do all these different things. So getting my shot quicker really helped.
When did it change from your parents working with you to you kind of taking the bull by the horns, for lack of a better term, of when did you start going out shooting by yourself without mom and dad and just going all right, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this on my own, and I'm going to continue to perfect my shot?
Throughout high school, my dad always wanted to be with me, and my older brother also. So we always went to the gym together. So it didn't really start until college when I was on my own, and I knew I needed to, get in the gym by myself.
Yeah, that's amazing, because it's just you get into a habit, right? You get into that repetition of who you're working out with, how many shots that you want to get up. What does your routine look like? Well, I'll ask you on a game day, but what does your routine look like on a practice day first as you get ready for, working out that day?
For example, right now, I went with my assistant coach and we just got up 200 shots, starting with quick, short shots around the rim and then expanding all the way out to deep threes and then finishing with free throws. Just having something consistent like that 3-4 times a week has really been beneficial.
What about on game day? What's your kind of, do you have a habit? And we'll go pre-basketball too. Do you have the same thing you eat for breakfast, lunch? How does a game day look like for Sammie Puisis?
I try not to be super superstitious.
You're a little stitious.
That's not really who I am.
Okay.
But I mean, we have shoot around most days, most game days, so I'm able to get a lot of shots up. But yeah, I'm not really into the superstitions.
What do you attribute? So let's say you're not shooting the basketball so well early on in the game. What is that mindset like? Because people say like shooters are going to shoot, shooters shoot. So let's say like you go 1 for your first 6. Are you still shooting? Are you going to try to get to the hoop? Do you try to get to the free throw line to kind of figure it out? Like take us through the process of, it's easy to say, hey, Sammie, you did a great job when you put up 35 or something. But on one of those nights where you're really struggling early on in the game, what's your mindset to kind of get you back into the groove?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough because not every night you're going to shoot great. Probably, trying to attack the rim, get to the free throw line so I can just see the ball go in. But I've always had a couple games that, nothing fell.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to, impact the game in different ways, whether it's rebounds, assists, or just really focusing on defense. I ultimately just want to try and win every game, whether that means I need to score 30 or it means I need to just really do well on defense. So.
Who was the one player? Did you model your game after anybody growing up, or if not, who was kind of your role model when it comes to women's basketball?
Growing up, I used to watch UConn a lot. I really liked watching Katie Lou Samuelson. I thought we were pretty similar. But when it came to like drills and stuff, I was always watching Steph Curry's ball handling and shooting, pregame stuff to learn from him.
I mean, the greatest shooter of all time. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
It's amazing what he was able to do to kind of change how the game is played, right? Because back in the day, if you took that many outside shots, people were saying you're lazy, you're not getting to the hoop, you're making it easier on the defense. But for a guy like Steph Curry now, where his range is really limitless, how do you keep that in check though, right? Because because if you're making one by the logo, it's like it's hard to say any shot is a bad shot, right? Does Coach Jose say anything to you about shot selection at all?
There's times where he's like, let the game come to you. Like, we're going to run stuff. Let's get a good shot. If I'm shooting some deep ones early on, but once he knows I'm feeling it, no, any shot he's letting me take.
He steps back. Hey, do your thing, whatever works. What is it about Jose? So you said that he was the main reason why, you came to USF, but getting to know him, being on the court with him, practice, road trips, like what is it about Jose Fernandez that allows him to be at a school for over 2 decades and to have so much success and to be one of the most respected coaches in college basketball?
Looking at his resume alone is pretty impressive, but just talking to him, he really knows the game and he really knew my strengths and what he could do for me to help me. So that was really cool. He just has a fun personality. He's very sarcastic, and I like the sarcastic humor. And I just think he's very direct, and I want someone that's really going to coach me and tell me how it is. So it was a good fit.
I love that about Jose. He's not, and it doesn't matter who you are on the team. He's going to let you hear it if he doesn't think that you're bringing it to the table. One thing that I really enjoy about your team is that there's so many different young women from different backgrounds. Coach Jose, as soon as that season's over, he's on a plane, he's gone, he's over in Europe, and he's networking, and he's bringing in women from around the world. How do you build that chemistry, right? Is that because I think it's such a unique process. You play some of these teams where you'll go on the road and, let's say you play a team from Texas. Well, a lot of the girls are probably from Texas or Oklahoma or surrounding states. You play USF every year. You don't just pick a country in Europe and you probably got a young lady from there. I mean, what is that like building that chemistry early on in the year with women from so many different backgrounds?
It was a change. I mean, I'm the only player from the U.S. right now that's playing.
Wow.
So it's kind of crazy. A lot of different accents. Everyone's speaking different languages. It was tough at first. There's a language barrier at times, but it's been really cool to get to understand all their different cultures and backgrounds. It's been fun. I think the style of play over there is very different. So They kind of bring a different element to the game over here. But it's challenging at first, I would say, just with the language barrier. But other than that, it's been awesome.
One thing that I love about women's athletics when it comes to college, and I was talking about this with softball the other day with Josie Foreman, And ironically enough, I've seen a lot of videos from Gino Auriemma, the longtime head coach of UConn and really good friend of Jose Fernandez. And the attitude of a female athlete in college and the way that she has to be a great teammate, regardless of what the circumstance is like. Take us through that mindset. And I wish that, it didn't have to be, I wish that the men were a little bit more like this, but it just seems like wherever I'm at, whether it's basketball or softball, soccer, lacrosse, it just seems like the disposition from the female athletes, especially at USF, because I'm there the most, is just, even when they're not playing well, the attitude is up, the teamwork and the sportsmanship is up. What is that like, knowing that you have to be on at all times? And that's a huge part of, getting opportunities and being successful.
Yeah, I would say it's just like, for me personally, just trying not to get too high or too low. Basketball you hit a lot of bumps and, you have some great victories, but staying steady, but being surrounded by teammates that want the same goals as you. You see teammates on off days shooting, and it makes you want to get in there and shoot too. So I just think having teammates that really want to be successful, it makes like everyone around them better.
I was in New York. I go to New York every year for the holidays. My family lives up there, and I was sitting on the couch with my 3 nieces. They are 6, 5, and 4. And we were watching the game against Duke, and it was so great to be able to watch them yelling. I mean, they don't really know any better, right? But I'm babysitting the 3 of them, and we're watching you ladies against Duke, and you're just blistering and battering a top 10 team in the country, and these little girls were going crazy, making sure you guys were making shots, and they were yelling, "Go Bulls!" They're running horns up, like. What was that game like for you guys to just it just seemed like you were firing on all cylinders? It was just one of the games that'll always stick out to me, not just because you guys won, but who I was watching the game with.
It was so fun, especially being a home game. We had great energy, a great crowd. We just know that we can compete with those types of teams. So, we went into the game fearless. We're not afraid of them. We're confident in the work we put in and everything. But yeah, that was a memorable win for sure.
What does it mean to you to know that, and we see this now, like with lacrosse joining this year, to know that you're making such a profound impact on the girls in the Tampa Bay area that want to play basketball? I mean, you hear them at the games. Like, do you understand that? Like, I know it's maybe tough because you're in it and you're playing, but when you look out into the crowd and you see little girls and they're cheering for you when you're making a 3 from, like, I-75, like, what does that mean to you, knowing that you're making an impact on the next generation?
I get it, because that was me when I was a little girl. I went to the Ohio State games and Xavier games, wanting their autographs and pictures with them. And they inspired me to keep playing basketball. So I just want to do the same for the girls, coming to the USF games. It's special.
It certainly is. And what I want to ask you too is, I know early on, I mean, you look at what you were able to do this season. You're able to play UConn. You're able to play Louisville and TCU and South Carolina, right? And okay, if you don't win those games, you don't win them. But the experience of playing those teams early on in the season is something that Coach Jose has done for the last couple of years. His out-of-conference scheduling is it's up there with some of the best. How does that get you ready for, as we get closer and closer to the post, getting into the conference tournament and hopefully getting to the NCAA? How does that early season scheduling against those top teams, even if you don't come out on top, help you as you go forward?
They definitely help. And those are the types of games that I want to play and I wish we could play all throughout the year. Mm-hmm. I think going into the NCAA tournament, knowing, we got to win, and we competed with those types of teams, it gives us confidence. But also, like, those early on games prepared us for, the types of games we will possibly see in March. So,
what do you like to do, Sammie, on your downtime when you're off the basketball court?
I have a little dog.
Oh, nice. What kind of dog?
Shepherd.
Oh, wow.
So I spend a lot of time with her and just, family and friends.
What's Sammie's like pizza order? If you could get anything on a pizza, what would you like?
Probably pepperoni.
You're just simple, right? I'm the same way. I'm a pepperoni guy myself. If you could go to dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oof. That one is, I've gotten asked that a couple of times. I'm a big Justin Bieber fan,
Okay.
so that would be fun.
Mhm.
I'm also Catholic, so I would love, sitting with Jesus Christ. That would be
Oh,
amazing.
nice. Great
And I would
answer.
say Steph Curry, expand my game, talk to him about all the memories he's done.
Who
So
do you think would dominate the conversation between you, Steph Curry, Jesus, and Bieber? What would you guys talk about? That would
uh,
be,
honestly, I would want all of them to,
right.
equally talk.
They would talk about the jump shot, right? Who had the best jumper? I'm sure
Three very
Jesus.
different topics.
You got that right. All right. What's the goal for the rest of the year, Sammie? Obviously graduate, your time at USF is coming to a close soon. Hopefully it won't be for a while, but I mean, just what's the goal over these next couple of weeks as you ladies try to push forth and win the conference championship?
We just, we've had a couple of bumps these past couple of weeks, but we're regrouping and we're just trying to get prepared, bring all the energy and excitement to Dallas, and just be prepared to get 3 wins. That's our goal, is to get the ring and get to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Sammie Puisis, South Florida sharpshooter, one of the best shooters in school history. Sammie, continued success. You've made such a profound impact and impression on everybody here in the Bay Area. Keep shooting, even if they're not going in. Get to the basket, get to the free throw line, and continue representing the green and gold in a great way. You make everybody in the Tampa Bay area very proud to represent, to support the Bulls. So thank you so much for your time. Best of luck. Safe travel. Say hello to Coach Jose for me, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
You got it. Great stuff there. Sammie Puisis, the sharpshooter. Go watch some of her highlights. The release is insane. It doesn't. And I was at the game a couple of weeks ago, and I just remember standing there talking to the person next to me, and I said, she doesn't need much space. She's not one of those people where, certain shooters, right, they only shoot from this spot. They can only shoot, catch and shoot off of the pass, off the dribble. There's nothing that gives away what Sammie is going to do out there. And that's what I thoroughly enjoy, watching her game. And when you look at this team, I like it. And I know that they've dealt with some injuries, but when you look at what they're able to do when it comes to beating you in multiple ways, I think that's going to help them out a lot. If they can be healthy and stay healthy through the conference tournament, I think they have a really good chance of winning and a good chance to go to the NCAA. So the American Athletic Conference Tournament starting this Saturday there in Fort Worth at Dickies Arena. And hopefully they can win, hoist that trophy, and then be eligible for the NCAA tournament. I cannot wait. Best of luck to Coach Jose Fernandez, Sammie Puisis, and the Bulls. God, we love our Bulls. Again, tomorrow I will be on the call for softball doubleheader. For all your information, go usfbulls.com. All right, let's get to some of the other news. And Scott Reynolds is going to join us at 1 o'clock today. We found out that Bill Belichick in North Carolina, we were thinking that they were possibly going to be an option for Hard Knocks this year. And it turns out that it's not going to happen. I think it would have been really good TV to be able to see Bill. I think Bill Belichick, and I know I might be in the minority, but I think Bill Belichick in Act 2 is going to have some legit success. The recruiting is not going to be difficult for him. People are going to want to go play for arguably the greatest football coach of all time. It won't take long. And I think when you can delegate and you can have control, I just don't see how this is not going to work out. Because when you get that second opportunity, and you have an opportunity now where it's like your way or the highway in college sports, it's going to be so much more difficult with the way it is now for college coaches to go up to the pros. But I think him going to UNC, they're ripe for the picking there in the ACC. It's not like you're going to the SEC and you're like, all right, I got to go against the Georgias. I got to go against the Alabamas. I got to go against the LSUs. I think in the ACC, you look at Clemson, you look at Florida State, you look at Miami, you look at some of these teams. I think you can get an opportunity to go in there. Because remember, just a couple of years ago, Mac Brown had this team like, wait a second, this is a basketball school. What the hell are they doing competing with some of the big dogs in the conference? I don't think it's going to take long. there are going to be people, especially on the East Coast of the U.S., that are going to want to go play for Bill Belichick. And I think he's going to make an impact early and often. But I do think we get robbed a little bit from not seeing him on Hard Knocks. But with that being said, I think part of the reason why is because we just saw what happened with Joe Shane and Brian Daboll and the Giants. This off-season Hard Knocks, I don't know if that's the smartest thing for people to attach their names to. Why? Why would you do that? Because every single choice that you make, you're going to be vilified for. And you are going to be criticized to the high heavens if it doesn't work out. You could not have a worst case scenario than what you saw, or a worse scenario than what you saw with the Giants. Whether it was Daboll in their shame with his kids, whether it was about the Saquon Barkley thing, letting him go, not trading up and getting a quarterback. And listen, Malik Neighbors, that's the crazy thing when it comes to the Giants and when it comes to different teams in sports. When you look at, well, you could have traded up, or if you could have drafted this guy. It's one thing to be like, all right, it was an easy selection because your pick stunk. But Malik Neighbors was really good for them. He was really good. And you think about it, with the quarterbacks that they had, imagine if you had a semi-decent quarterback. I mean, you could be talking about a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro. That dude is unbelievable. They wouldn't have won as many games as they had last year if they didn't have Malik Neighbors. Now they're in a position. Did they draft a quarterback? Did they draft Cam Ward? Did they draft Shedeur Sanders? Do they take a run at free agency? Do they try to get like a guy like Sam Darnold, who is not going to get the franchise tag from the Minnesota Vikings, which I don't blame them. Would you pay Sam Darnold that money? I wouldn't. Kevin O'Donnell is one of the greatest coaches in the game right now. And what he was able to do with not just last year, but the year before with Kirk Cousins, and then last year with Sam Darnold. I mean, this guy, it was almost like watching what happened with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. Sean McVay and Jared Goff. Those guys can do so much and work with you so much and put you in a position time and time again. But when it kind of equals up and you're playing against good defense, you need a guy to be able to make plays on his own and make plays off platform and be able to kind of create something out of nothing. That's the difference with some of these great quarterbacks in the league, and that's how you separate them when it comes to the tiers. And you look at, all right, cut my hand here, a guy like Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes and a guy like even Joe Burrow, right? And, of course, guys like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. You need a quarterback, yeah, that's fine, to be able to make these plays when it's, on time. Tua Tagovailoa is a great example of that. Listen, when everything is good and everything's on time, Tua delivers the ball and everything, all the surrounding environments is good. Yeah, everything's great for Tua. But what happens when a guy's covered or a guy falls down or he has to get outside the pocket that wasn't part of the play call? That's when he struggles. And with the world, with the NFL the way it is now, I really question, and I said this probably a month or two ago, I think the traditional pocket passer is dead. I don't know if we'll ever see another guy like that because the defenses are that much better. The defenders are that much more athletic. And there's so much more that your offense can do when you have a guy that can get outside the pocket. Now, does it mean that you have to have, called runs in your playbook? No, that doesn't necessarily mean that. But you have to be able to evade some of the pressure. You have to be able to say, all right, this option's not here, this option's not here. Let me roll out to my left and roll out to my right and still be able to make plays down the field. Look at Baker Mayfield. He still does a great job of that. I think when you look at teams out there like the Giants, I don't see how they're going to be very good for a while. And the Cowboys just announced this deal. The Cowboys and defensive tackle Osa Odigizua, 4 years, $80 million. The deal includes a $58 million guarantee and a $20 million signing bonus. The latest big money extension handed out by the Cowboys to a homegrown player. Dak got 4 years, $240. CeeDee Lamb, 4 years, $136. Now they turn their attention to Micah Parsons. So, a good player does he deserve that type of money? I mean, if he would have got that on the open market, Maybe, right? I mean, if you look at their deal, if you look at what they did there by keeping their own players, I don't know if that's the worst thing. I don't know if that's the worst thing at all, because we talk about that when it comes to the Bucks. I would rather a team spend money on keeping their own guy than using that money to pick up somebody in free agency. It doesn't make any sense, because you're taking such a risk, and those guys very rarely work out. Be careful where you get your news from. That's another thing. And I know Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk just put this out today. As today's franchise tag deadline approaches, there's one impending free agent who definitely will not be tagged by his team, and that's Chris Godwin. Yes, we've been telling you that for a long time, because if he gets tagged for a third time, the player gets the greater of 144% of his cap number the prior year, or the average of the 5 highest cap numbers from the prior year at the highest pay position, which is always quarterback. I can't stress this to you guys enough. And you're still seeing people on social media saying, well, will Chris Godwin get the tag? Oh my God, really? Really? No way. No way. And I saw Jenna Lane from ESPN put it out, and we've seen it for weeks. We've seen it for weeks. Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report that joins us at 1 o'clock. Also, guys like Greg Allman from Fox Sports, Rick Stroud from the Tampa Bay Times. Like, everybody has told you that Chris Godwin will not be tagged by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you don't need some national pundit, some national guy telling you something that we already know. Trust your local reporters, right? I say this all the time. I can't stress it enough, because you hear a lot of misinformation out there, and they're just not into. Now, listen, if it's one of those things where you're talking about Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport or one of these guys, and it's like breaking news, they're not going to go to the forefront, and they're not going to do something and put something out on social media that isn't true. They have those connections with the agents, with the teams, with the players. That fine. But when you're talking about speculatory things like this that you've already heard from our local media over the last month, please trust our local guys and gals. It is very, very important to do that. I'm here at Amalie Arena today. Lightning in action tonight at 1 o'clock, or at 1 o'clock, at 7 o'clock against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Gage Gonsalves spoke earlier today. I missed the Victor Hedman because I was working back in the studio. So, yeah, not much from those guys today. The team got in late last night. I would assume that Jonas Johansson will be in net tonight against Columbus, because Vasi last night against the Florida Panthers. Also, last night, I was watching both, and I know a lot of you guys were out there too. How about Monday Night Raw last night? Anybody watch that? My goodness. You knew that the WWE had to follow up what happened Saturday night with John Cena turning heel and sending shockwaves through the WWE universe and also pop culture. And the video packages that they put out yesterday with all of the announcements of people just shocked that John Cena turned heel. It was great. And shout out to my guy, Coach Arnell Scott. Great episode of Raw. Shout out to my guy, Arnell. Love him. Love you, brother. Hope you're well. Great episode of Raw. And it started out the only way that it was going to start out. I was kind of doing the math in my head Sunday afternoon. How did they start off Raw with a bang? They have to. And they did the right thing. It was CM Punk pulling in, getting out the truck, right to the front, grabbing the microphone, getting up, not in the ring, getting on top of the broadcast booth and saying, who do you want me to talk smack to? And he let The Rock have it. He let the John Cena have it, calling him a bunch of bald frauds. I love it. And then obviously he turns attention to the guy that eliminated him. And I know it was Cena, but the guy that stomped his head into the metal, great. And it was Seth Rollins. And he comes out and they're brawling for literally the first 15 minutes of the show. And I was watching it at the house and we just kept going, they're going back again. They're going back again. You were fired up last night. Unbelievable show. It was great. I loved it. 2 home runs back-to-back, Saturday and Monday. And then some great matches. The IC match was great. I love the tag team match between the Creed brothers and the Viking Raiders, the War Raiders, whatever they want to call them. It used to be War Machine. I wish they would just go back to that. And then the ending with Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. it seemed like a foregone conclusion. Everybody was saying Rhea Ripley is going to be the person that's going to go to WrestleMania. She's going to square off with Bianca Belair. This is their history, blah, 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 blah. But I tell you what, when the first two championship matches were won by the champion, I was starting to think they can't have Rhea drop the belt here. Can they? And that's exactly what happened. And it was pretty clean. I know there was a little dust up with Bianca on the outside, but it wasn't like it was like blatant main interference, hit her with a chair when nobody was looking kind of thing. Like Io pinned her clean. And now what happens from here? Because Friday night's going to be an incredible SmackDown. Cody Rhodes is going to be there. I think Jade Cargill, Bianca, you got to figure out that situation. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a multi-woman match for that championship, whether it's like a Rhea and Naomi and the Io, and maybe like what happens with Jade Cargill. I don't want to see a one-on-one between Jade and Naomi. I love that. And Cody, is he going to be there? What does he have to say? Who confronts him? Because we know John Cena's not going to be there. He's filming in Africa, but I'd love to see some tape vignettes from John Cena talking smack. Go full force with the heel turn here. Go full force. I don't want John Cena doing any make-a-wishes. I don't want to see him doing anything. I want to see him with a pissed off face. I want to see mean mugging everybody. Everybody. I want to see a different side of John Cena. And everybody's looking at this. Oh, John Cena is the first time he's ever been heel. No, it's not. It has not been the first time, because he was a heel back in the day. The Doctor of Thugonomics, when that started, he was a heel. And then it got over so much with the crowd that eventually he turned babyface. And we see that a lot in wrestling, where a guy's a heel, and you stick with it, and all of a sudden the fans just love you. And then it's just a natural turn. So he's been a heel before, but I don't want that. I don't want a joking around. I want a strict heel, no redeeming qualities whatsoever. You saw the kids that were crying. Keep that going, because that is some good business. That is some great entertainment. I cannot wait to see where they go from here. The countdown, the road to WrestleMania is in full-fledged mode right now. I just cannot wait. I wish it was here. I wish it was here right now. Let's get to a hockey question here from Thomas from Lutz. Does it make sense for the Bolts to make a move for Rantanen, considering he'd just be a rental but could get him cheap for the cap? I would say no, hell no, hell to the mother effing no. No way do I want the Bolts to go out there and get Mikko Rantanen. Not at all. This is a guy that I think he would do better here with the Lightning than he has in Carolina, but he's going to cost you way too much. So stay with me here. And I don't hate the question, Thomas, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are asking if this is a possibility. And I'm going to tell you why. And I know our guy Ed Encina brought this up a couple of Thursdays ago, but I'm going to tell you why I disagree with him and why I don't think this is going to happen. One, he's a rental. We know Julian Breezeball hates, and he'll do it if he has to, but he hates trading for guys that don't have years left on the term. He doesn't like that. He doesn't want to be in the rental business. Also, number two, if you are the Carolina Hurricanes, you traded Marty Necas and you traded Jack Drury for Mikko Rantanen, hoping that you could get a deal done and that you could sign him long-term. And he would be that missing piece that would get you over the hump. I still don't think they have enough. I know people love Carolina. I've never been in that camp. I think they're a bunch of, guys that are second line players. I don't think they invest enough in their goaltending. I think Freddie Anderson's the answer. He never is. He's not Bobrovsky. He's not Sorokin. He's not Shesterkin. And you bet your sweet ass there's no freaking way he's Andrei Vasilevsky. So they're always going to be on the negative side of that whole thing. But if you trade for Rantanen and you're going to trade him again, you need stuff back. And it's not just draft picks. I think you need players. So if you're the Lightning, who are you going to trade to Carolina that the Hurricanes would be okay with? Would they be okay with Gage Gonsalves and Max Crozier and a first-round pick? I don't think so. Look at who they just gave up to get him. They gave up two of their best players, one of their in-prime players in Marty Necas, and one of their young burgeoning players in Jack Drury. who would they get from the Lightning that would suffice? I don't see that. I don't see that the Lightning would give that up, and I just don't know if the Lightning have the right pieces to the puzzle to make that work. I would stay away from them at all costs. The Lightning don't need a top guy. They need a middle guy. And that's why, going back to what we saw yesterday, and I'm going to play it for you right here, this is what the Lightning can do. And if you missed this, this is what the entire thing was about yesterday when we had Greg Wyshynski on. And if you missed it, talking about the deal with bringing Yanni Gourde back. We would love to see Yanni back, and I think we're all not tricked, but I think we all, after what we saw with Ryan McDonough and how good he's been since he's been with the team, I think we're trying to get as many pieces of the band back together as humanly possible. So this is, hold on, let me pull it up right here. This is what happened yesterday when talking about Greg Wyshynski. This is how we could see Yanni Gourde back with the Bolts.
A lot of people asking, what would it take for Yanni Gourde to be back with the Lightning this year? Well, Greg Wyshynski, our friend from ESPN, in an article that was published today, answer that question for you. And I had him on the show, and here's what he had to say when I asked him, is this a real possibility? Not just Yanni Gourde, but JJ Pewter with the Lightning?
I wrote it at like 6:30 in the morning the day after the Stadium Series at the airport. But I did good math. I said,
a good one, man. It's a good one.
The beginning of it was, how do I get Gourde back on the Lightning for the nostalgia of it all? And then I'm like, well, that's dumb. They wouldn't stop there. How do I then rope in other teams to like handle the salary? Then I'm thinking, oh, the Hagel trade with Turka. Like it all make. I mean, if it ever happened, I've clearly written the Pelican brief, where all of a sudden this amazing thing then came to fruition. But look, I think that anyone who watches the Lightning knows that their top six is legit as they can come, but they could still probably use a right wing. Paterka could do that easily. I think he's in that Hagel class of, if he's available at the trade deadline, you overcompensate to get him because he's going to be on your team for a very long time and absolutely thrive with the talent you could surround him with. And he's already putting up points on a bad team, right? So, and I think he's like a real John Cooper type. I mean, the way that he plays the game, the offense that he could bring, I think he'd be a great fit. The Gourde thing is just, I look at that lineup and I just think that they need that kind of guy, down the lineup, a defensive stopper who could offer more offense than a lot of the guys in the bottom six currently can. And I mean, we all remember they didn't want to give him up. Like he was a salary cap casualty in the expansion draft. So the idea that you could somehow, if you can work the numbers, get him back in the lineup, I think is like, would be great for nostalgia, great for vibes, but also the kind of player that they need in their bottom six.
So you get a guy like JJ Pewter, okay, and you look at him. This is a kid, all right? I'm going to pull this up. He is a second-round pick back in 2020, number 34 overall, all right? He'll be a restricted free agent after this season. He's only making $855,000. Now, John Cooper and Julia Brisebois, when they go out and get some of these guys, they do not want to, as far as getting rentals, right? If they're going to get a guy whose contract is up after the season, it's not a UFA. They want an RFA. Get an RFA so you have the rights to be able to negotiate with the guy and then go from there. And if you do that, you have to trust that what a guy like Julian Brisebois has been able to do over the years. And also, you set that precedent with some of these guys. We're like, all right, hey, if you go to the Lightning, they're not just going to use you and then get rid of you. I like that. And I think you establish a precedent and you say that if we're going to go after you, we don't just want you as a rental. We want to keep you long-term. I like that. And I would be a huge fan of bringing in JJ Pewter. He's a guy that's playing on a bad team. And sometimes you hear that with players, oh, well, they're not good because they're playing on a bad team. Good talent, no matter what, is going to be able to shine, even if it's offensively. Let's see. JJ wouldn't hurt my feelings. David Terry, yes, he loves it. And the one thing about that deal, and if you look back at it, in that trade to get Yanni here, you're having one team take 50% of his salary and another team 25% of his salary. And that's for the rest of his contract. So Yanni would be getting a paycheck from 3 different teams: Seattle, Buffalo, and Tampa. How great would that be? You're sitting at home, you're getting 3 checks, right? check from 3 different teams. That's the way you make it work. That's the way you get Yanni back here. I would love that. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes your bottom 6 better. And you get a guy in Pewter that could probably play on that second line with Brandon Hagel and Anthony Cirelli. Now your third line is Yanni Gourde and Nick Paul and maybe Gonsalves. Then your fourth line is a Chafee or Asimont to play with Girgensons and Glendening. What happens with Geekie? I like that. I like the direction of that because I've said this for weeks. The Lightning need more than just one forward. They need 2 guys, whether that's a guy that they trade for and Isaac Howard, whether it's a guy they call up and they bring a guy in. They have to get more forwards on this team. I like how Gonsalves has played. I like how a guy like Mitchell Chafee has played. Girgenson's playing with the second line. You can tell they're feeling it. You can tell they're feeling the heat of, all right, they know how well this team is playing. But this is the time of year where Julian Brisebois is combing through everybody out there and seeing who's available. And if you look on social media, and I'll look again tonight when I go up to the press box, you start seeing these posts about how many scouts are at opposing games. And I know there was a game out west. I forgot which one it was, but the Lightning had scouts there. Their scouting network is all across the country right now. And I'm going to try to ask Julian how many games that they see in a night, like how many different scouts that they have out there, because I think that'd be a good question. David Velasquez, what do you think we were missing most last night to get past the Panthers? I don't think it was much. I think that's a good game. It's a good game against the defending Stanley Cup champions. You look at the inability to score on the power play. That's, you score a goal or 2 there, you win that game. Defensively, I had no issues with it. I thought they got better defensively as the game went on. Shut things down. Hetty hit the post with like a second left. I still think one of the biggest things with this team is rectifying the power play. And I don't necessarily think, and I was having this conversation on Twitter last night, I don't necessarily think it's the players. I think it's the structure. I think it's the coaching aspect of it. One thing that not a lot of people bring up when it comes to the Lightning power play, and this is why you tune in here to the Jay Recher Podcast, because I ask these questions to the coaches, to the players, to the guys like Eric Erlenson and Cena. When you watch other power plays in the league, and you see with Florida, you see with Edmonton, you see with Colorado, see with the Rangers, their power play is about movement, whether it's puck movement or player movement. You'll see guys moving around. You'll watch McKinnon. You'll watch McDavid. You watch Artemi Panarin. Those guys are moving. They could be on the left side. They could be on the right side. They're not in their office like we've grown accustomed to over the last couple of years, where Stammer's on one side, Cooch is on the other side, Hedman, you have a guy down low, whether it's Killorn or Cirelli, now Jake Gensel, and then Braden Point in the slot. You don't see much player movement on the power play when it comes to the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's all about puck movement. And when you practice it time and time and time again, it's dangerous. And if you do it right, it's damn near impossible to stop. Because as much as you have to honor a guy like, and I'm going to bring it back, a guy like Stamkos with that one-timer, what was deadly was that cross-ice pass to Nikita Kucherov, right? And vice versa. But when you don't have that threat, the guys can just kind of pack the middle and know that they kind of figured you out a little bit. And you see that. And we saw it in the years, even when Stammer was here, when the team would overpass. They would do a little bit too much. They become a little bit too predictable on the man advantage. And when you play a team that is defensively sound, and not many teams more sound defensively than the Florida Panthers, you're going to have some issues. That's why you see what you saw last night. They have to find a way to find a guy, and I think it should be Darren Radish. If it's not Radish, then they need to go get a right-handed shot at the deadline. And Peterka's a lefty, so he wouldn't help in this scenario. But a Josh Anderson, another guy on that left side that can do what Stammer did last year. With a guy like Radish who has a slap shot close to 100 miles per hour, I know that was the idea initially, and maybe they didn't want to put him on that first power play unit because when Moser went down, he had to anchor the second. But now I wish that they would just go with that and stick with it for a couple of games. Hedman at the top, at the point, Cooch on the right, Radish on the left, Pointer in the slot, and Gensel down low. And tell Darren Radish, be aggressive. You have an incredible shot. Shoot the puck, shoot the puck, shoot the puck. We're going to take a quick break for the national anthem here at Amalie. I just can't speak when Sonia Bryson Kirksey does the national anthem, right? Like, it'd be so disrespectful. And she's not even here. It's a recording. But still, for the folks down there that are playing for the Rink of Dreams, like, it's such a cool thing that they get to be on the ice for that. And I would just feel bad if I start. It's one thing if I'm in the middle of an interview, I'm not going to stop an interview. But if I'm here by myself talking, I'm going to definitely pause for Sonia Bryson Kirksey. So, yeah, David, I don't think it was much. I think they have to fix the power play. I wish that they would listen to me, damn it. Because that's really the big difference. And when it's the fine margins, it just might be one play. They got to be able to do that. Let's see what else we got here. A couple of posts, Craig. I'm with you, man. A couple of posts. They were close, man. They were close. Shout out to Sonia is right. Where's this anthem from? It's here, the USA, baby. Good question here. How's Sonia's mom doing? Last time I checked, she was on the mend, doing the best she can. I please ask you all, if you haven't donated or haven't shared this on your social media, go check it out on Twitter at Sonny Sings, SONNISINGS. That's SONNISINGS. She has it attached to her Twitter handle, the GoFundMe for her mom, and you could just read everything that's happened to her. Your heart goes out to the entire family. And we've been trying to do what we can to kind of share that message. We had her on the show when she was driving. She was on the side of the highway, if you remember. If we can try to get her over 10,000, that would be absolutely huge. And Buckin asking, what is happening at Amalie right now? Right now, it's the Rink of Dreams. So you can actually, I think if you can pay to play here at Amalie during the day, which is really freaking cool. I wish I could go out there and get an opportunity. I keep trying to ask. They have like an employee skate here at Amalie with the Vinnick Sports Group. I want to get down on one of those. And also, if McDonough scored on that breakaway, I would have cried. It just doesn't happen very often, right? A guy like McDonough, but he's just so freaking smart. He intercepts that pass in the neutral zone. And what I loved about the breakaway, there was two things that stood out to me about that game last night that are not going to show up on the score sheet. It was McDonough on that breakaway. And you see so many times in instances like that where a defenseman tries to get too fancy and he tries to deke. And you heard it from Brian Engblom on the broadcast last night. He shot the puck. He's not a deker. That's what you got to do. Good save by Bobrovsky, and you move on. But he did not try to deke. He got a shot on net. I love that. Also, there was a play right about the 5.5, 6 minute mark last night. The Lightning are trailing by 1, and there was a 1-2, or there was a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2 going into the Lightning zone. And it was quickly thwarted by two guys getting back. And one of them was Nikita Kucherov. The next guy was Jake Gensel. And then Florida circles back. They try to pass the puck out, and Braden Point was there to knock the play away. And I just thought that right there tells you everything you need to know about the Bolts. I didn't care if they won or lost that game at that point last night, because that right there was a sign that this team is locked in. And you can get on Nikita Kucherov for not being, a Pavel Datsyuk or an Andrei Kopitar, fine. Okay? But what he did last night to be able to get back, and it wasn't just him, it was the entire line, shows me that this team is focused, that this team is locked in, and that they're playing good hockey down the stretch. That type of thing cannot ever take a night off. You can't – scoring's going to come and go. We saw that in the month of January. But you heard John Cooper say it, even throughout those losses. Hey, I like our game. Hey, it's going to get better. Hey, this thing is going to turn around. And it has. I mean, look at how much better they were in February. And I don't look at a game like last night, and I don't point out any faults where, wow, this team is struggling. Now, do they need to get better? Do they need to get, I think, a little deeper there in the bottom six or the middle six? Yeah. I don't disagree with that. But what they did last night, I thought they did enough to win. They also didn't have Matthew Tkachuk, so you keep that kind of thing, in perspective. Or Seth Jones making his debut. I thought he looked pretty good for them. So, I mean, no issues. No issues at all. And I'm excited to see how they respond tonight against Columbus, because Columbus is a team that's been playing their ass off all year long. And we see that in hockey sometimes, where a tragedy can kind of galvanize a team. We saw it years ago with Vegas, right? Early on in their tenure, I think it was in that first year where they had the shooting in Vegas, and it really rallied everybody together, and they were just fantastic that season. Same thing with Columbus. Unfortunately, they lose Johnny Gaudreau before the season, and then now you see what they've been able to do. I mean, they've been knocking on the door of a playoff spot all year long. All right, let's bring them in and talk some Buccaneers with our good pal Scott Reynolds from Pewter. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Here at Amalie Arena, talking all things Tampa Bay sports. How was the combine?
Combine was good. I think the Buccaneers are interviewing some really good players, targeting the right guys. Todd Bowles wants some ball hawks. Music to my ears. I did a Pewter Pulse video. I do love that.
And listen, you've been, and we've had these conversations before. Like, we still think Bowles. There's room for him to get better, room for him to grow. But it just, when you posted that, I was like, oh, okay. And it was just, that's one of the most clickable things that I've seen in the last couple of weeks. So, just to let everybody know that hasn't checked it out yet. Again, everything up on pewterreport.com. What do you like about what you've heard from Todd Bowles and Jace lined up there?
I think two things when it comes to Todd Bowles. The first was, and I'm about substance rather than style. Mm-hmm. The substance we'll get into in a minute, but the style really kind of piqued my interest and intrigued me, because the thing with Todd Bowles is we know he's not the most dynamic, energetic guy. He's not the most captivating guy at the podium, but he was speaking, Jay, with this sense of confidence, right? Let's go back to January, and the Blazers were set to make Liam Cohen the highest paid offensive coordinator. Obviously, they valued what he was able to do last year, 30 points per game, et cetera. And then when he was flirting with the Jacksonville Jaguars again, and ultimately became their head coach, the Blazers had an opportunity to pull the old switcheroo. They had an opportunity to chase the points and the hot young offensive coordinator and swap him out for Bowles. And they didn't do that. They valued, at the end of the day, Todd Bowles' leadership ability, his track record in Tampa, the fact that team chemistry and team camaraderie is at an all-time high. And as someone who's in the locker room on a regular basis, I can attest to that. It's higher than it was during the Gruden Super Bowl year. It's higher than it was at any point in the Tony Dungy era. It's higher than it even was, in 2020 during the Super Bowl run. So Bowles has some confidence now, right? That this is his team. He's excited about this season, but he's not coaching scared. I don't think job security is on his mind, and I like that. I want him to coach aggressively and unafraid, and I think that kind of by de facto he kind of got a vote of confidence. Then you add into the fact he wants ball hawks. He knows he's got to fix the defense. He's got to work on time management and game management. And I heard a lot of the right things. Plus, too, I love the fact that he's got Larry Foote coaching the outside linebackers again, with Mike Caldwell coming in to coach inside linebackers. I think it's a game changer.
Yeah, I love that. I think this is a kind of a common thread with all of coaches when things go wrong. The transparency, right? We don't expect them to show us their entire hand. We don't expect them to give us, the entire recipe of what they're trying to do to rectify it. But, and I hate to keep bringing it up, but it's kind of the antithesis of what we saw with Byron Leftwich. Listen, you could say that we may not be privy to some of the things that you got going on, but don't sit here and tell us that your rushing attack, that there's no problems with it. You're last in the league. And I think that could be one of those things, Scott, where Todd has learned over time of like, hey man, I can be a little bit more transparent. I can let everybody know, because I think maybe young coaches are worried that it's a sign of weakness, right? When you say that something's wrong, especially when it's on your side of the ball.
That's right.
But the fact that he said it, the fact that Jason Light said it, I mean, we had, a former Pewter Report guy, John Ledyard, on last week, and he goes, Jay, they got to go all in on this defense. And I think you agree, like, this is a huge offseason for Bulls and Light. Like, let's get some playmakers on this defense, because if you can raise that level between the offense and the defense, and you get that up here, you're not just looking at a division winner. You're looking at a Super Bowl contender. Yeah,
and I want to caution fans a little bit, because, someone's definition of all in and Jason Light's definition of all in could be two different things, right? It doesn't mean they're going to go get Travarius Ward and Dre Greenlaw and Josh Sweat, three of the biggest names in free agency, and fill linebacker, outside linebacker, and cornerback, and make that massive splash. You have to understand something here. Jason Light, and I'm not knocking him, and I think if he was here having this conversation with us, he would agree. Jason Light has hit on 3 big-time free agents. 3 in 11 years, okay? Tom Brady, that's the obvious one, right? And that's kind of the no-brainer. I mean, even though Brady had some question marks at age 40, that's still the GOAT, and obviously proved out to be a fantastic hit. He took a big chance on Ryan Jensen, made him the highest-paid center. Jensen helped lead this team to a Super Bowl, became a Pro Bowl center. That was a huge hit as well. Switching out Gerald McCoy for Ndamukong Suh was also a big deal, right? Suh made $9 million. And that was a controversial move at the time because Gerald was popular. It proved to be the right move because Suh didn't miss any games due to injury, and he brought some toughness to the defense that it lacked up front. So, but that's it. Out of 11 years, 3 free agent hits, and we could spend the rest of this time, Jay, going through the misses, right? Right. The Anthony Collins, the Michael Johnson, the Josh McCown. Deshaun Verner, Deshaun Jackson, Chris Baker, et cetera, Barrett Carter, the linebacker. So why do fans want to ask Jason Light to do something that he's not that good at? What is he really good at? Drafting players. The kind of free agents that Jason Light likes, Antoine Winfield Jr. last year, Baker Mayfield last year, Chase McLaughlin last year, Levante David. He likes Chris Godwin in free agency this year. He likes guys that have proven themselves in red and pewter, and he wants to reward those players. Mike Evans, prime example, right? So it doesn't mean that he's not going to sign a big-time free agent. What I would prefer to see him do is sign a couple of mid-level guys to one-year prove-it deals. That's work with Shaq Barrett, right? That's worked with Baker Mayfield. Try to find the next Shaq Barrett or the next Baker Mayfield, the guy that's hungry, that will come in on a one-year prove-it deal with a chance to go to a Super Bowl, right? And and see if he can strike gold. For example, people look at the Eagles and say, "Oh, well, look at they killed it in free agency, right? They got Saquon Barkley, they got C.J. Gardner Johnson, but they also got Zach Bond, the all-pro linebacker. That was a one-year deal worth $3.5 million. Shoot, Jay, they signed Devin White to a one-year deal, $7.5 million. They thought Devin White was going to be the guy that Zach Bond turned out to be, right? Right. So Zach Bond was their Shaq Barrett. So before you say, "Oh, well, let's throw Jason Light under the bus for going cheap again," no, he wants to find that diamond in the rough, because those are the guys that are hungry, that still haven't had that payday, that want to earn it, right? And maybe they need a change of scenery. A guy like Joseph Asai from Cincinnati Bengals, right? That's an edge rusher that's been at third wheel behind Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. Have him come in here at age 24, hungry, but with 4 years of experience. I think that's the type of guy that they're looking for. Now, they might sign Khalil Mack, and I'd be all in favor of that, right? We can talk about that. But they're not going to sit there and start stacking up superstars, because the Eagles even tried that last year. Nobody talks about this. Everyone looks at Saquon Barkley and C.J. Gardner-Johnson and some of those free agents and says they were hits. The Eagles had like 3 or 4 hits in free agency out of the 13 guys they signed. So that was about 10 that missed. And one of those misses was a huge miss. Bryce Huff, 10 sacks with the Jets, 2.5 sacks last year. He was a healthy scratch in the Super Bowl. How much is Bryce Huff making? $17 million a year. But hey, at the end of the day, people forget about that because they're Super Bowl champs and Saquon hit. But those are the type of free agent mistakes Jason Light's trying to avoid.
Yeah, I had my buddy on from Cincinnati a couple weeks ago, and he said Joseph Osai is that guy that you guys need to look at. Instead of everybody talking about trading for Trey Hendrickson, Joseph Osai is that candidate. And I put that 2 and 2 together. Like, that's the Shaq Barrett call right there, the guy right there. How much do you think – I was talking this with our guy Ian Beckles yesterday. How much do you think it would cost to bring Khalil Mack in? Because obviously the sexy name, and I was looking at it yesterday, and it was just like, all right, well, how high would you go for Khalil Mack? Because you're looking at some of these numbers, and if it's going to be over $15 million, I just don't see how that's a possibility.
Well, a couple things with that, right? So with Khalil Mack, you know, I would probably go up to like $18 million a year.
Okay.
But it's going to be a 2-year deal, right? And the way you structure that is hey, every free agent that gets signed, right, the team believes that he's going to be that guy for that year, right? We believe Jordan Whitehead last year was going to be that guy. Oh, he's coming back. Oh, he already knows Todd Bowles' system. Oh, he got better in coverage with the Jets. Okay, well, it didn't work out, right? So you can part ways with him this year, and there's no dead cap money. But he was going to get his $4.5 million last year. Obviously, 2 different stratospheres in terms of salary. We're talking Khalil Mack, right? But what you can do is you can sit there and let's just say, for simple math, let's just call it $20 million, just because I'm not good at math. Let's say you sign him for a 2-year, $40 million deal, right? $20 million this year. And so maybe you front load that to where it's 30, you pay him $30 million this year, right? The way it's structured, with the signing bonus, et cetera, to where if this year it pans out, great. But let's say his play slips, or let's say he doesn't work out. The next year, the cap hit's only $10 million, right? And you tried the 1 year, it didn't work. It's not the avalanche because it's not backloaded next year. So you can kind of walk away from it. Okay, $10 million. All right, you know, we'll eat it. That's not the end of the world. The thing with Mack that I do like is a couple things. He's been that guy everywhere he's gone. From the Raiders to the Bears to the Chargers, he's been high energy, high effort, big time producer. He's getting a little long in the tooth, right? 34. He had 17 sacks 2 years ago. It dropped to 6 this year. From an experience standpoint, this is a future Hall of Famer we're talking about. From an experience standpoint, from a veteran presence standpoint, just having him in the room with Yaya Diaby, with Chris Braswell. Let's say you draft Donovan Ezeraku in the first round. With Ezeraku, 1 or 2 years worth of being around that guy in his orbit is going to help your outside linebacker room tremendously.
Like a JPP? You think it'd be like a JPP impact like that?
Absolutely, yes. And he's chasing a ring. He wants a ring. So the money he made in California with the high state income tax in that state in California, let's just say, and I'm not good at math, but let's just say that $20 million offer from the Chargers, right, is really an $18 million offer in Tampa when you take out the sales tax, or thereabouts, right? So in other words, that's even money, right, in terms of what Khalil would be taking home, because there's no state income tax in the state of Florida. So that's a way you can get Khalil Mack for maybe a little bit under market value. Then you sit there and say, hey, Khalil, we're Super Bowl ready. We need you. We have an offense that puts up 30 points per game. You saw firsthand, even with Justin Herbert, you guys couldn't score. We beat your ass in that game head-to-head, and you guys couldn't score any points in the playoffs. We have an offense here that is, it's Super Bowl ready. We need you to make our defense Super Bowl ready. So the lure of a Super Bowl ring might help lure a player like Khalil Mack to take maybe $1 million less rather than staying with the Chargers or going to another team, maybe like Chicago, that is not Super Bowl ready, that can dangle more money.
You're talking me into it, buddy. You're talking me into the Khalil Mack thing. I was a little hesitant, but I like the way that you put it out there. I want to ask you about one of the standouts, Nicky Minwari from the Combine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at this guy, just insane. I mean, I think he was the biggest star coming out of the Combine because he looks like an absolute athletic freak. He could do a little bit of everything. Safety spot, South Carolina, a captain there. If he's there at 19, the Bucs take him? To pair him up with Antoine Winfield Jr. I know it's not an edge rusher. I know it's not an interior linebacker or corner. You could say safety might be 4th or 5th when it comes to most important positions on the defense. But I look at that guy and I go, holy smokes. You have him and Antoine Winfield Jr. Like they can cover up a lot of the issues that they have defensively. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't interview him, right? They didn't even interview him informally. So that tells me a couple things. Number one, maybe the Buccaneers think, well, he's a first-round guy, and we're just not going to take a safety in the first round. We just don't believe that there's value there. They did interview Malachi Starks from Georgia. He's a fringe first, maybe second-round guy, so maybe they're thinking he gets second-round consideration. But when you look at the positional value, I think Tampa Bay is either going to go outside linebacker, edge rusher, or they're going to go cornerback. Those are really where you're going to get your most bang for your buck and address those needs with a first-round pick. I like Minwari. If you look at Todd Bowles' history with safeties, he's only had one really big safety. That was Keanu Neal, and he really didn't fit in Tampa. Right. Didn't really do much. Now, this is an upgrade over Keanu Neal, right? This is an absolute he might be an upgrade over Derwin James, okay? But when you look at the safeties Todd Bowles has deployed, you look at Tyke Smith, who's, I think, going to slide over to replace Jordan Whitehead now. 5'10", 205 pounds. Whitehead, 5'10", about a $195. Winfield, 5'10", about 200 pounds. He likes safeties that are more agile and fluid. And that typically comes from guys that are a little bit closer to under 6 foot just because of their hips. When you get those long-legged defensive backs, especially against quicker, short slot receivers, that's where you get into some coverage problems, right, is the ability to turn and run. That's where you get separation created. I've had conversations with Bowles about this. So it's like, you and I may disagree with Todd about that, and I'm with you. I like Nick and Minwari, but he didn't interview with Tampa Bay. So unless the Bucs are going stealth mode this year, like they did with Kalijah Kancey from a couple years back, where they didn't interview him, they didn't bring him in for a top 30 visit, but they drafted him in the first round. Unless they're going stealth mode, I don't think that he's on their radar. Last year, when you look at the Combine formal interviews, this is part of the reason why we go to the Combine in Indy every year. Chris Braswell had a formal interview. So did Graham Barton. So did Tyke Smith. So did Jalen McMillan. So did Devin Culp. And so did Michael Pratt. Right? Those are pretty much everybody but Bucky Irving and Elijah Klein had formal interviews with the Bucs last year. So maybe they change it up this year. Maybe they go back to stealth mode. But if they don't, if they're sticking with guys they really are zeroing in on with formal interviews, then he's outside of that perimeter.
I like what you said there because it seems like the Buccaneers or Todd Bowles likes the corners that are bigger guys, right? Yeah. Like the Jamel Deans of the world, tackle in space, maybe not as much ball hawks, right? But does he have to change that process a little bit? Because you've had these guys and you kind of fit the mold, the Carlton, the Jamel Dean, but you got to get guys that are going to get their hands on the football a little bit more. So does he change that a little bit? Does he try to go, right, I've been saying my corners need to be bigger guys. Does he sacrifice maybe a little bit of the size for a guy that has a little bit more of a nose for the football? Because something's got to change. You can't just think magically, all right, guys are just going to start picking the ball off if that's not their thing. That's not their bag. Jamel Dean is never going to be a Trayvon Diggs, right? He's never going to have 8 interceptions in a season.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
How do you think – is that part of the next maturation or next step in the maturation process for a guy like Todd Bowles of like, hey, I got to be a little bit more open-minded on bringing corners that are going to take the football away?
I think it could be, and I think it should be. One of the players that they had a formal interview with that I absolutely loved, and trust me, as a Kansas State Wildcat, I've seen enough of this guy get him the hell out of the Big 12. I'm talking about Kansas's Kobe Bryant, the Jayhawk. I mean, I would love to see him in red and pewter rather than red and blue because he played really well against K-State and everybody in the Big 12. 13 career interceptions, including 8 over the past 2 seasons, 4 last year and 4 the year before, which shows me he's a consistent playmaker. If you're productive in college it's a good precursor. It's usually a good indicator that you have a chance to be very productive at the next level. Doesn't always work that way, but if you're not productive in college in a given area, sacks, interceptions, whatever, then it's harder to make that jump and all of a sudden be proficient at getting to the quarterback or getting interceptions at the next level. It doesn't typically work that way, right? Like Georgia's Terrell Davis comes to mind. Never had 1,000 yards as a running back way back in the day for the Bulldogs. Gets to the NFL as a late round pick with the Broncos, maybe undrafted free agent. I forget where he was picked. And then became a 2,000-yard rusher, right? And helped the Broncos go to the Super Bowl. That is the exception, not the rule.
It's like Brady gets a 6th-round pick, right? It's like
exactly,
you remember them because they're the exceptions, not because it happens all the time.
You could sit there and draft a quarterback every year for a decade in the 6th round, and you're not going to get Tom Brady, right? That's not the formula. But when you look at Kobe Bryant, 13 career interceptions, he's a ball hawk. He's a little bit undersized. He's 6 foot, 180 pounds, but he's tough as nails. This he plays like he's 6'2", 205, right? And that's what you're looking for, too, is a guy that is tough. He's got some dog in him. I love him, and I think he would be an exception. Now, he's not your 1st or 2nd round pick, probably maybe a 3rd or 4th round pick, but he's worth taking a chance on. I remember there was a guy drafted in the 3rd round back in 1997, 5'10", 180 pound corner out of Virginia. What was his name? Rondé Barber.
Who'll be joining us on the program Tuesday.
There you go. Let's plug it.
Great plug. There you go.
Yeah, 47 career interceptions. And why did he have so many picks? Because he showed he could do it for the Cavaliers. 15 interceptions over 3 seasons, right? That's an average of 5 per year. That's tremendous production. So again, it's not always an indicator. Like past results don't always indicate future performance. To sound like a financial guy here, but that's how you have to look at it, right? If they don't get sacks in college, what makes you think they're going to become a double-digit sack guy at the next level, going up against Pro Bowl caliber tackles? It just doesn't happen. But getting a guy like Kobe Bryant, who is not 6'1" or 6'2", he's 6 foot, not 200 pounds, but 180, but plays bigger. Yeah, I think that might be, the direction to go in. And there's a big, tall, long, drink of water too. East Carolina's Savon Ravel that fits that long, lanky, fast criteria. That is a bit of a ball hawk too. He's got some interceptions over the last couple of years, injury shortened senior season, but he's certainly a candidate for the Bucs in round 2. And I'd flood the cornerback position. Draft a couple corners.
I like that too, because you saw when the guys went down, I mean, you're scraping the bottom. It's no disrespect to some of the guys that they've had out there, but you can't have guys that are special teamers out there as your backup corner and think you're going to be able to compete there in the NFC. All right, before I get you out of here, I want to ask you about the defensive tackle position. We had Josh Capo on last week, and a lot of people got bent out of shape because of his comment about Vita Vea, which I thought was standard. And I think the people that actually watched the video actually understood.
Agreed.
And I had I had a former Buccaneer actually text me and go, he is so spot on with that, and people just didn't watch the video. And to kind of gauge on what Jason Light, you're not going to invest in a guy that's over 300 pounds as he's getting into his 30s. Right. You'll get into a point where it's kind of like a Rondé and kind of like a Levante, where it's like a year deal here,
that's
a 2
exactly
year deal
right.
here, but it's not going to be a long-term thing. In no form or fashion did he say that the Bucs were going to move on from Vita Vea right now. It was just kind of forecasting what the next couple of years looks like.
Absolutely.
But with that being said, and I know there's something up on pewterreport.com about this now, don't take defensive tackle off of the board either.
That's right.
Because if there's a guy there, and it seems like there's going to be a lot of good ones in this draft, I mean, the Buccaneers should definitely keep an eye on some of these guys clogging up the middle.
You're exactly right, Jay. So 2 schools of thought on that. So this is a very deep defensive tackle draft. And that kind of means 2 things. It means that the defensive tackle that you might get at 19, because the position's so loaded, you might be getting a player that is like a top 10, top 15 worthy pick. It's just that there might be 3 or 4 other guys taken that high. So you're getting a good value at 19. Then the other school of thought is, well, if you wait till later in the draft, like day 3, you might be getting a day 2 caliber defensive tackle. In other words, if you pick one in the 5th round, you might be getting a guy you had a 3rd round grade on, just because there's so many defensive tackles and only so many teams need him, right? So the surplus might work in your favor. Couple of things. I have it on incredible authority that if the Buccaneers if Graham Barton was not on the board at 26 last year when they traded down with Dallas, and they obviously picked him, but let's say he wasn't there, the pick was going to be Illinois defensive tackle Johnny Newton from St. Petersburg. They were going to pick a defensive tackle in the first round. If you hadn't been paying attention, Vita Vea, a first-round pick. Logan Hall, even though he wasn't a first-round pick, he was the first pick of the Bucs, the top of the second round in 2022. He didn't really show a whole bunch as a rookie. So what did Jason and I do? He picked another defensive tackle in the, say it with me, first round in 2023 with Elijah Cansey. He values trench play. Football games are won in the trenches. If you don't believe me, ask Patrick Mahomes. He's lost 2 Super Bowls because the other team had a tremendous defensive line and his offensive line sucked, right? Mm-hmm. It's that simple. So, yes, there is a need for that. And remember, this is before Logan Hall had kind of his breakout year with 5.5 sacks last year. So they were unsure about Logan Hall entering, year 2. But now that, or I should say entering year 3, but he did have the breakout year. But now Logan Hall is entering a contract year. Jay, if he gets 5.5 sacks again, some team's going to pay him a bundle of money. And the Buccaneers, they're going to continue to invest in Vita Vea and Elijah Cansey. They're the starters. So you want another defensive tackle in the hopper. You want another guy that you can develop. It's not a position where you typically just throw a guy in there and he is an instant star. Let's see, Gerald McCoy, Warren Sapp, all of those guys had 3 sacks or less during their rookie seasons, and yet they became Pro Bowl defensive tackles. So when you look at the position, it takes a year or 2. Just ask Logan Hall. Yeah. It takes a year or 2 to become that guy. Draft a guy now while Vita Vea is 30, while Logan Hall has 1 more year left. Get him in the hopper, have him learn and develop from those guys. So when, let's say, Vita Vea moves on maybe in a couple years or retires, or Logan Hall moves on after this year, then you already have a guy that you have in your system, in your scheme, has learned from those veterans, and now just gets moved up the depth chart. It's a smart way to do it rather than having to draft for need when you need to. Draft a year or 2 ahead of the position and get ahead of your needs.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I remember talking to my buddy up there in the nation's capital, and he didn't get a ton of time this year, but they loved Johnny Newton because he was learning from Daron Payne and learning from Jonathan Allen, and learning from a lot of these guys under Dan Quinn. And there is a high hope and expectation that he's going to take a tremendous step forward for the 2025 season.
And he will. He's a great player. And again, that's a position that it's so hard to come in and play against grown men with grown men strength in the offensive line, like 30-year-old centers and 30-year-old guards and stuff, guys that have grown man strength. I mean, you can talk to any of you can talk to Sapp, you can talk to Culpepper, all that stuff. It's a hard position to come in, and you can sit there and do all the bench press, drills you want and stuff. It's just different when you go against, NFL veteran offensive linemen that just have that grown man strength. It's different than when you're a young kid coming in at 20, 21, 22 and playing defensive tackle for the first time.
You got that right. Scott Reynolds, Pewter Report. Guys, now's the time. PewterReport.com. Bookmark it. Get it in their favorites. It's on the top of my screen every single day to make sure that I'm keeping abreast of everything that Scott and the whole crew over there. And Adam's got a great story on Donovan Ezeraku right now being an explosive guy that could be an option for the Bucs at 19. Scott, you're the best. I appreciate it. Glad you made it back safe and sound in the Tampa Bay area. We'll talk to you again soon, man. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you.
You too, Jay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it, pal. Scott Reynolds, man. Top tier Buccaneer information. Again, PewterReport.com. Follow them. I got it right on the top of my screen. Yahoo Mail, Facebook, NHL.com media site, PewterReport.com. Check them out, man. A lot of great things there. Chris Cole saying second best receiver on the market because the Jets just released Davante Adams. There's just a lot of things going on here. I know I just saw a deal, though, in hockey as well. My God, man. Teams are going. Boston's blowing it up a little bit. Trent Frederick. So here's the details from Frank Saravalli. It's a 3-way deal. The Oilers get Trent Frederick and Max Jones. Bruins get a second-round pick from St. Louis, a fourth-round pick from Edmonton, and defenseman Max Wenner. And then the Devils, the rights to Shane LaChance. And this is from Edmonton for retaining 50% on Frederick. Shane LaChance's dad, Scott LaChance. I remember him playing for the Islanders in the 90s, a defenseman there. So there you go. And, yeah, Adam Schefter. just letting everybody know that the Jets have now released Davante Adams. Where could he go? Does that help a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I think it does. I think when you look at a team that's looking to spend money, would you rather bring in a guy like Chris Godwin coming off of a season-ending injury, or would you rather bring in a guy like Davante Adams? I mean, I think we go maybe Davante. I don't know. We'll see. I know last year when you look at Chris and what he was able to do before the injury, you're like, damn, man, he was fantastic. But hey, listen, it is what it is. I mean, the dude was banged up, and right now I just think it makes too much sense. I was talking to Nigel Kerwin a little while ago, the esteemed video coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning, about Chris Godwin. He came up to me. He's like, "You think Godwin comes back?" I go, I do. And I don't think that's being a homer. You look at everything out there and you look at what the dead cap is. You look at how much he's going to warrant in free agency. He's probably going to say, hey, I want 24 million or something like that. The Bucks are going to come in at 16 or 17 million, meet at the middle, 20 million. It'll be a couple million over what his dead cap would be anyway. And for people saying that, oh, the dead cap doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it does. It counts towards your cap. Don't give me anything about like, oh, it doesn't matter about the Glazers. It has nothing to do with the Glazers. It has to do with cap construction. And if you can take care of something like that and then push that to the side and focus on everything else, the Buccaneers are going to do that. They've shown that they want to take care of their business in-house right away and get that clear before they get into the rest of the offseason, whether it's the free agents, whether it's the trade market, whether it's the draft. And you saw that with the deals for Antoine Winfield and the deals for Tristan Wirfs. They want to get that on the books and out of the way so that they can focus on everything else. They don't want to leave it till the end because that's just going to screw everything else up. So shout out to, and I know Spytech's not there anymore, but shout out to Mike Greenberg and Jason Light because those guys go about it in the right way. I'm reaching out to the great Dave Andreychuk. Hopefully he'll join us here in a minute. So, yeah, you hear some of the stuff in the background right now. It's a 2-1 lead for the away team in the second period here, the Rink of Dreams game. Go look TampaBayLightning.com. Go check out all the information that they have up there, how you could be a part of Bolts Nation, and there's just so many good things. It looks like there's going to be one more recording of Lightning Block Party live over there at the Cigar City Tap Room at Thunder Alley. If you can get an opportunity to go to one of those, it is well worth it. It is well worth it to be able to watch Greg Wolf and Braden Coburn do their thing. The last one with Radish was great. The one before that with Andre Vasilevsky was probably one of the best we've seen so far. Also for NHL news, Jake Evans signing a 4-year deal with the Les Habitants, carrying a $2.85 million AAV. So, that's one of the guys. I know a lot of people are wondering, could he move? Could Jake Evans be a guy that's on the move? If I'm Montreal, I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer to being a team that is going to be a factor, but I still think I'm on the outside looking in. I still look at the NHL, the standings. I look at my division and I go, I'm on the way. I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet. Right now, as we speak, it's the Lightning in third place in the division with 74 points. The Red Wings 8 points behind them. So we're getting closer and closer to kind of locking in to what the Bolts are going to do. And they're probably, and I know there's 22 games left, but they're probably going to be facing one of those two teams above them, whether it be the Florida Panthers or the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round. I hope that they have I hope they're the home team because I don't want to be able to go on the road. If they play the Panthers, fine, they'll play the Panthers. And if that happens, you bet your sweet ass I'll be down in South Florida for the first couple of games of the playoffs. It's pretty standard stuff. But the Red Wings are 8 points behind them. The Senators are 9 points behind them. And I guess the Canadians are too, but those three teams ahead of them have a game in hand. If I'm Montreal, I'm looking at my situation. I know I've won 5 in a row. And it's tough to sell at this time. That's why they probably signed a guy like Jake Evans to an extension. But the deadline is in 3 days. The deadline's in 3 days. And for Montreal, this could be the worst possible thing for them to catch this winning streak at this time because they know that they're probably not in contention for a playoff spot. But how can you start trading off assets when you've won 5 in a row? And how about the job that Marty St. Louis has done there? When teams look like they don't know how to, go ahead. Andreychuk's working on it right now. Did I email it to you? He's trying to get it on the iPad right now. We're working on it. We're going to get Andy on here. He's the man. He's such a great guy. And it was so funny because I was texting Dave yesterday to get him on because I was trying to get him on last week, wasn't able to do it. Get him on yesterday, and all of a sudden I didn't know that he was working for FanDuel last night. And all of a sudden I look up, and there's Dave with Paul Kennedy. And it was just so great to see him on the TV. Oh, I think we got him in. He's working on it right now. We'll get him in. The one and only Dave Andreychuk, the Hockey Hall of Famer. He's working his way in. We'll get him on here in a second. The power play master. And there's a great guy to ask about the power play, because one question that a lot of people have been asking when it comes to this Lightning power play is, what can they do to improve? They have so many good players. They've had success over the years, but how can they make it so that a game like last night doesn't happen, that they don't get to a point where that they're really a power play goal away from tying that game, 2 power play goals away from winning that game? Because special teams, when you can say special teams has something to do with the win or the loss, but and I think sometimes it could get overblown, right? If it's just 1 power play opportunity, 2 power play opportunities, like if you go 0 for 2, can you really say that it had to do with special teams? Maybe, maybe not. But when you do what you did last night, when you had opportunity after opportunity, and in no way did I look at that game and think, oh, wow, the refereeing is on the side of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think the play of the Bolts last night dictated how the game was called. They put the pressure on Florida from the jump. Let's see if we can get Dave in here. Dave, we're trying to connect to you, bud. Still waiting. We're still waiting for a connection from the great Dave Andreychuk. It's got the big circle on there. I'm trying to get you. We are here at Amalie Arena. You can hear the guys in the background. Try to see if we can get Dave on here in a second. Oh, jump going on in the background. Yeah, as the Rink of Dreams goes on behind us. We're trying to work. We're trying to get Dave in here, but it's not. It's just the circle of death. We used to call that for Xbox. I wasn't a big Xbox guy, but see if we can get Dave on here. My internet's good here at Amalie Arena, so I'm hoping that we can fix it here in a second to get Dave in. I would go. Let me see if we can get kick him out. Try to go back in. Yeah, okay, good. Got him out of the studio, bring him back in. Yeah, Jump. I know this is a lot of people's Van Halen's favorite song. The Red Ring of Death. Yes. For Halo and all the people out there that were big Xbox guys. I was always a PlayStation guy. PS1, I had the original. PS2, never had a PS3. I have a PS4. Didn't go to the PS5. I don't play it enough, but I use the PS4. I use it, especially nowadays with everything being on the stream. We're trying to get Dave on here, man. Get so close. We got the name on there. For some reason, it's just not pulling up. Damn, I don't know what is going on. If I change my thing here, Emily Free. There's Wi-Fi. Back here. Oh, Dave. So close to getting you on. His name is on there. The effort is there. It's not for lack of effort. For some reason, it's just not going through. I know you guys are seeing it right there. Usually we'd be able to see it like on the side when guys kind of wait to get entered into the room. But unfortunately, it's just not happening right now for Dave. Let me try to send it one more time. Yeah, the invite wouldn't change because he's in the room. It's just not adding on there. Oh, we're trying, Dave. We're trying. But usually you can see the person's face as they're coming on. And it's worked for the other two guests today. I just don't know why this one isn't working. QSMES. Somebody said slap that iPod with a puck. No. Wasn't the power play working? Why did they go back to all right-handed? Slap that iPad with the puck. Yes. I know we need something, but it's just not working out. Kick Dave out one more time. Damn, man. Sorry, guys. We're trying the best we can here. Trying to get Dave on there. I don't know why, because we've been able to get some other guys in there. I don't know. Sometimes when you sign up with Google, maybe he's got the it feels like the video is getting close. It pops on real quick and then it turns off. Oh, man. Oh, man. Put it in rice, Dave. Yeah, one time at Amalie Arena, actually somebody spilled a drink on my phone, and I had to put it actually a drink on my laptop, and it got all over the place. I don't know what the heck happened. Damn, man, I can't believe this isn't working. I'm trying. Oh, man. So we're just going to have to wait patiently real quick while we see if we can figure this out. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I'm everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Keeps taking me to back room. Yeah, I don't know why. Are you on the phone? I hate being such a pain. I'm sorry, Dave. Damn, I don't know why it's not working. Yeah, it just got the screen. Yeah, I'm trying to add you on. Damn, I don't know why it's not working. It's worked with everybody else today. Damn it, man. I'm trying to troubleshoot here on the fly. Oh my God. Trying to figure out what I'm trying to troubleshoot in my mind right here to make it work. Oh, it's worked with every see both screens, but it's buffering. Yeah. Oh, I don't know why it's not pulling up. I'm gonna try to push it back down. Remove stage. Damn it, man. I don't want to remove myself. Keep trying to bring it back up, and it's just not working. Is your video on? I mean, the video would be working, right? Because then it would come up. Let me see. Stop cam. Yeah, because that would be mine. I honestly don't know why. Yeah, Chris is saying sign out and sign back in, but he's done that. He's done that a couple of times, Chris. Oh man. God, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Are you using Google or Safari? I think maybe that's the thing, being able to use the internet browser. Sometimes it's Google, sometimes it's Safari for an iPhone. Damn it, man. I wish this would freaking work. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to make this work here for you. This is such a pain in the butt. I'm screwing this up. I'm sorry, everybody. Trying to think about a different way that we can do this. Oh man. He's there. He's right there on this, right there. But the whole thing is not buffering. It's not working. I'm just wondering if it's something where his internet's down, or if he signed into Google instead of Safari, or vice versa. It's just not working. But if I just called him like this, that wouldn't work. Oh my God. Damn it, man. All right. This is just the issues with modern technology, I guess. I don't know what I did to not make it work here. I'm checking out the link right now. That's on yeah, I'm going into the studio. Oh, I think we may have gotten something. Dave, you there? Oh, damn it. Dave, we almost had you. Oh, you guys saw that, right? Yeah, because I'm looking at mine now. See, there's extra me right there. Bob is like my stage name on there. We almost had it. Oh, damn it. There was a point where the audio and the video, you saw kind of the you guys saw it. I know you saw it. Carlos saw it. Damn it, what a pain. I'm so sorry, Dave. Safari. Oh, man. All right, guys, we're working on it. We're doing our best. Moving it. Stage. Adding. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the first time, listen, for the 2 months that I've been doing this, this is really the first, like, problem that we've had doing this, and it's all my fault. I'm so sorry. Maybe Google. Okay. He's going to go outside. Maybe it's the signal. I love you, Dave. I'm so sorry. I really hope this works. If not, I'm the worst human being in the world. Google. Yeah, because I mean, oh my God. I don't know why this is not working. I honestly don't know. How embarrassing. I'm so sorry. I'm just going. What am I? Can we do something where it's like, shoot. Okay. He's trying. He's the best, isn't he? I mean, I wish there was a way like I can FaceTime him. Can I do that? Like present image file, video file, extra camera. I ain't no freaking extra camera here. Share screen. Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. I'm outside. I turned my Wi-Fi off and I just went with the signal. I went outside. I don't know if that's. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Fine?
brother.
Okay.
You can hear me. Thank you, Dave. Sorry, brother.
No, that's fine.
The advances in modern technology, brother. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Thank you so much, brother. It's so funny. I texted you last night and then I looked up and I was like, oh shit, Dave's on the screen with PK, yeah. Man. Let's get right into it, man. I mean, sure. I thought last night was I loved the way that they played. I mean, obviously you want to get better on the power play, but I mean, Dave, you look at the effort, you walk away, and I go, hey, you keep playing like that, you're going to come out with more wins than losses.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was a great game by them. You look at, the way the game started, the way that they finished, the push at the end. It's a post here or there. I think Coop said it best in his post game was like, hey, the effort is there. We're going to win a lot of games playing that way. So, obviously a big game against Florida. It's hard to believe that you've won 8 in a row and you're still where you are, right? Like,
Right.
it's amazing. I guess there is some separation now between those 3 teams, and they're winning also. But man, I think they're playing really good. I really do.
Dave, what do they got to do to correct this power play? Because, one thing, and people ask me this all the time, and you would know it better than anybody, they've always been more puck movement than player movement, right? You don't see guys move. This isn't a Colorado or an Edmonton power play where guys are moving around like a carousel in the offensive zone. But what do they got to do to kind of recapture that magic that we've seen in years past, knowing that, 91's not there in his usual office?
Yeah, and I think that was an adjustment at the beginning, right? And I think we all knew that was going to happen, but they still have been very good on it. And obviously, you've got one of the best players in the league that everything goes through him, right? Last night, they pressured a lot, right? And I think you're right. They probably needed a little bit more movement. Listen, there's 32 coaches in this league. They're pretty smart guys, right? And they're gonna figure it out, right? You're watching tape and you're not giving Cooch much time, right? They're pressuring, they're making him make a decision early, which normally he's pretty good at. I don't think they need to change much. Sometimes it's just going back to the simple stuff at the beginning. Like, I know that I harp on this a lot, and all of the Lightning fans probably know that I love when Victor Hedman shoots the puck, right?
Right.
I love when or even if it's Darren Radish now, I think that shot from down the middle will open up so much more. I think, you get a puck retrieval after the shot. Now they're running around a little bit, and then Cooch can do his magic. So maybe it is make it a little simpler. They've had no problem with entries. Odd time faceoffs can be an issue, but that's been better lately. So I think that they're sitting in that room getting ready for tonight, and they're probably saying, we're not going to change much, right? Like it's going to happen for them. I get it simple. Go back to shooting the puck, maybe a little bit early in the power play, and things will open up.
What do you think this team needs as we get closer and closer to the deadline? What does this Lightning team do? Because you know as well as I do. Julian always says, I spend 365 days a year trying to improve this team, not just the days around the trade deadline. But if you could go out and maybe not specific player, but if you could fortify an area for this team to get them ready for the postseason, where would it be, Dave?
Well, they're pretty solid everywhere, right? Like, yeah, sure, you could use a top 6 forward. Everybody can do that. Or, another centerman maybe. But I don't think they need much. I think you're going to need a depth guy was probably all they maybe, I don't want to say afford. But, what pieces do they have that they can give away? Yes, there's picks. What's in the minors that teams are interested in. I think that will probably be what they're going to end up doing is getting a depth guy. Will that guy help? Sure. I think they got obviously 2 solid lines. Mm-hmm. They've had the luxury of being able to put Nick Paul back on the 3rd line. I think that's helped on their little bit of a run. So, yeah, you can get some depth scoring, but I think that's probably what they're going to be looking for. Will they get another defenseman that's going to be a top 4? That might be hard to do. So, but let's never doubt Julian, right? We've seen it in the past where he pulls some of these deadline deals out that have obviously worked out very well for them. So I think everybody is in the same situation. They're looking to improve their team. Yeah, there's some buyers, but I think there's more seller than buyers right now. Like, I think teams, because of the standings and how close it is Detroit going to get rid of some packages and they're right there. Is Boston going to do that? I don't know if teams that are on the bubble right there are going to, start selling right away. So sellers are probably at a premium. There's more buyers than sellers at this deadline.
Yeah, it's a great point because you look at Montreal, they're a point out of the playoffs, right? They're on a 5-game winning streak, but it's just like, are they really in a position to think that they're going all in, right? It's tough, man. There's a lot of teams in contention. I want to ask you about Connor Geekie. We haven't seen him. He got sent down. Do you think we'll see him again this year? And what did you make of his game as the year went on?
Well, he's always got talent, right? We see that right away. He's a big guy. He skates. He's got a good shot. He's got all the tools. I think he's just got to kind of figure out the NHL a little bit. The luxury is, he's on a very good team, right? He's not on Chicago where they throw him to the Wolves right away and you're in. That's it. We're going to go with you. So I think they've done the right thing. They've sent him down. Now, unfortunately, he has not played very well down there or as well as expected. I really thought he would go down, be able to get his scoring touch back, and then they would bring him back up. I don't think we've seen the last of him this year. I think you might see him again, but he's played 9 games. He's got 1 goal only in the 9 games. He did get a nice goal the other night, a shootout goal to win the game for them. So that will bring some confidence back to him. So, but there's a future for this kid for sure. We see the talent, and hopefully, he finds it this year. And if not this year, they give him some time to develop and be an NHL player.
Dave, I don't know how much you've been keeping track of what's going on in Nashville, but I know it's tough because you and we spoke about him for many years. He was such a big part with Steven Stamkos. And, I exchanged messages with him a couple of weeks ago, and your heart goes out to the guy, man. Everything that could have gone wrong in Nashville has gone wrong. What does that tell you about this game? Because, you go in the offseason, you're adding already with a team with Forsberg and O'Reilly and UC Saros and Roman Josi. You bring in Marchessault and Shea and Stammer, and it just goes to hell in a handbasket. I mean, what kind of moral of a story is that in the National Hockey League where you have winners, you bring them on an already good team, and then it just all falls apart?
Yeah, it's been unfortunate, and obviously, I'm assuming that I'm just like any other Lightning fan. I'm watching that team every day, right? I'm watching to see Stammer do, and I'm cheering. We're all cheering for him, right? Like, for sure, right? So I am surprised, as you said, they added some pieces, but again, sometimes it's team chemistry, it's line combinations, it's familiarity with guys. That takes some time. I talk a lot about, our cup run, right? Our cup run didn't start in 04. It started in 02. They kept that group together. We built together. We've seen this current Lightning team, the same thing, right? Like it takes some time for them to understand what their roles are on the team, how they can be successful. So, in Nashville's case, it is a little mind-boggling that with the talent they have there, they're not better than they are. And I think it's just a matter of time before they kind of put all the pieces together. And I'm really hoping so for Stammer's sake.
Before I let you go, Dave, what gives you hope and what gives you belief that this team is going to go on a long postseason run this year? Like, are they showing signs? Did this 8-game winning streak kind of peel back the curtain of like, hey, this is what this team is all about? Or is the winning streak kind of, I think certain winning streaks, sometimes you hide maybe some of the warts of a team. I feel like it was revealing in a good way where it was like, hey, they're focused defensively. Vazzy looks locked in. Are you on that same kind of wavelength of like, hey, I'm a lot more optimistic going forward because of what we just watched the last 2 weeks?
Well, let's remember back to January, right? It didn't go very well for them, right? And I think that they found something in their game. Now, they were playing fairly well in January and things weren't, they weren't getting the points. But what I think this is basically an eye-opener for the whole league of this 8-game streak. The whole league has now looked at it like, oh, boy, here we go again. 88 is on his game, and, that can take you a long way. They have the talent up front, obviously. And now that they're defending very well, That's a tough combination for teams that are going to play against them in a 7-game series. Remember, this is not just one game, right? I always look at that, will this team lose in 7 games? Is Toronto better over a 7-game series? I don't think so. I don't think Florida is. Washington impressed me, but and I'm a firm believer, and I said it, probably even into January, that I still believe this team will end up first in the division. I think they're going to win some big games down the stretch. Vasi's going to play great, and they're going to peak at the right time. So the pieces are all there for another great run. And give credit to both, Coop and Julian and, the entire staff. Like, they've been competitive for quite a while in this cap era, right? Which is hard to do. You get some hometown discounts. You get guys that want to stay on. You make the right moves, and they're in the mix every year. And that's impressive to me. We watched Pittsburgh go through it, Chicago go through it. It's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
to in this cap era to get everybody in the fold, get the right pieces, and they've done that again. So a competitive team again that it's got to be in the top 5 teams that have a chance to win, and that's exciting for all of us.
Dave, real quick, I got to ask you, Four Nations, man. I mean, it was such a great thing, and I know you enjoyed it. It was just a game that this is what your life has been, right? And I love it's my favorite sport to cover. It's my favorite sport to be around. Ever since I was a little kid, just loved it. To be able to watch it on national display and see 10 million people watch that, it was just insane, wasn't it?
It was incredible. It was way more than we all expected, I think, and obviously we saw the emotions from both teams, and, not only Canada, but, I don't know if you watched the Swedes-Finn game.
Yeah,
I mean,
amazing.
It was incredible. Mm-hmm. Incredible. Now, you got the best talent in the league. Unfortunately, the Russians or Czechs are not there, but that's coming in the World Cup, right? 2028, the World Cup's coming back, so we're going to see that again. The Olympics are coming. We'll see that again. So, but man, what a week of hockey that was. And to be off too. We were off. I had my buddies up from up north. All my homeboys came down. Nice. We watched every game start to finish. It was incredible. Really, really exciting hockey. Great for the game. Great for the game of hockey. As you said, 10 million people. I got to believe that there's a lot of people that watched it and are now big fans of the sport, and which is awesome.
They hooked him, that's for sure.
Yes, sir.
He's Hockey Hall of Famer, Lightning legend, Dave Andreychuk, the Stanley Cup champion. Dave, we found a way, brother. We found a way. We got it done. I appreciate you, my man. Enjoy the rest of the week, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, anytime, Jay. Awesome.
Thanks, pal. He's the man. Dave Andreychuk. Listen, such a huge part. You want to talk about the people that were pivotal to the success of this franchise, of this organization. I mean, obviously we know about Phil Esposito, and it's not just on the ice, but off the ice, but Phil Esposito and Jeffrey Vinnick and John Cooper and Julian Brisebois, Stamkos and Hebman and Kucherov and Marty and Vinny and Andy and Richards. Like, these are names, like, we get too caught up into comparing and ranking. Who gives a crap about all of that? It takes a village, man. It takes everybody. And Dave Andreychuk's so pivotal, the leader, and he's such a great human being. I saw Dave one time years ago at Walmart, and people were just coming up to him, and he was just so gracious. And he's an awesome guy. And we freaking made it happen. We got it, baby. I love it. And that is why we don't give up, the Jay Recher Podcast. Before we had Dave on, we had Scott Reynolds on. And yes, I just found out Tuesday, a week from today at 12:30, Rondé Barber is going to join us. So another Hall of Famer. This is what we do on the show. We have Hall of Famers on the Jay Recher Podcast. Tomorrow, live from the Rowdies Training Center, we'll have Forrest Lasso. We'll have Robbie Nielsen. We'll have Eric Erlinson from LightningInsider.com. The shows are great all week long. Thursday, we'll have Ed Encina. We got some other irons in the fire and a very special show on Friday. This is something that I was doing back when I was with WDAE. Doing with WDAE, and I'm going to bring it to the Jay Recher Podcast as well on Friday. I'm not going to announce what it is until Thursday, but it is something that I've done for a long time, and I will continue to do so. I already have 2 or 3 guests already locked in for the program on Friday. You do not want to miss that one. A big thank you to Sammie Puisis, USF sharpshooter, to Scott Reynolds, and of course, the Hall of Famer Dave Andreychuk for joining us on the program. And thank you, everybody out there supporting me as I record here from Amalie Arena. Follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and X. I am everywhere. And also like and subscribe on YouTube. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your day. Lightning in action tonight at 7 p.m. And we'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Jay Recher Podcast. I am